pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy comes true. But no, stable do.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
We are back. The full crew is here with you again today. Matt DeSantis, Barry Spears, and myself, Gino Bacola. And we are all excited to get you set for some big weekend racing and to get you all pumped up for the Stable Duel contest this weekend. Fellas, a little Gulfstream, a little Del Mar that we're going to be talking. Matty, my friend, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and I'm thrilled to be talking about Gulfstream and Del Mar because at least mentally I can be in a warm place, despite the fact that it's about 32 degrees right now in Northern Virginia. So I can at least mentally, it's not fun, Barry. Mentally, I can be in South Florida and Southern California with you guys. But excited to be back. Sorry, I was out for about a month with work stuff, but great to be back and talking to you guys.
And I get that same feeling when it's 55 degrees over here, which means I put the big jacket on and I start freezing. And that's one of the reasons why I live in California, because I can't even deal with anything close to what Matt is talking about or dealing with right there.
Barry, my man. You don't even want to know me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you and me, we're
78 and sunny.
We're different creatures. We're those warm-blooded, man. We need to be out there.
Anything under 70, it's the worst.
We're in some trouble. So what's nice is that Gulfstream Park is back on the turf. Unfortunately, today, a couple of those races are off the grass, but when they've been off the turf recently, they've had that synthetic track to run on, which has been nice. But now when they get back to the turf, it sort of feels like that championship meet is upon us again. And we're getting close to now some really big racing at Gulfstream Park. So Gulfstream will probably be a focus for us on this show for the next 5 months or so between now and Kentucky Derby time, really, when we see all the horses using Gulfstream Park as their prep race location to try to get themselves into the Kentucky Derby. Del Mar will shift to Santa Anita in a few weeks, and then that'll be another one that we talk about for quite some time. Matty, why don't you pull up the contest schedule for us today and let folks know, because I think there are 3 different tracks: Tampa, Gulfstream, and Del Mar. We're going to talk about Gulfstream and Del Mar on here, but what are the contest options for some of the folks out there to play?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something for everybody. So today, Friday, we have at Tampa, we have a $2 single entry game, and we also have a $15 3-entry limit game. So some lower dollar contests if you want to get in the action there at Tampa Bay Downs. And then looking at Gulfstream, there's a $40 double up. So usually the top half doubles up their investment there. So it can turn 40 into 80. And then Del Mar, there's a $30 game with a 3-entry limit with a $1,500 pot today.
Different options, a couple of big tracks for you to fire away at today. And we pull up the past performances for Gulfstream Park. I've got a couple at Gulfstream Park today. I'm going to be looking in races 3 and 8. So we know that the 1st and the 5th are off the turf as of now. Is
Correct.
That right?
Yes.
Okay.
1st and 5th and 8th is supposed to stay on as of right now.
So fingers crossed as we discuss this right now. Matt is going to be looking at races 2, 3, and 4 at Gulfstream Park. Barry's looking at races 3 and 6. I'm looking at races 3 and 8. So Matty, why don't you kick us off in race number 2 today at Gulfstream Park?
Yeah, so race number 2, we talked all about the turf, but listen, I love that synth. And so get to that Tapeta, 5 furlong Tapeta sprint. And I really like the number 4 in this spot, Picture Perfect. And this is one of those bizarre races where you start looking at the form and you start questioning your eyes because it's a 5 furlong sprint. And this horse appears to be the only speed in a 5 furlong sprint, which is kind of unusual to say the least. I mean, one of the things I like to do is look at that. And this is the reason I love the DRF formulators is I can look at that time form US pace early, and I can see that Picture Perfect, or Perfect Picture, I should say.
I was going to say, Picture Perfect was a 1997 movie starring Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, I know.
So, I think this is a different,
this is a different horse. Yeah, but Perfect Picture, 107 early speed figure. Nobody else is even close to that in this field. So I just think this horse is going to be able to get out and really not be challenged up front. Last time out, faded a little bit at the end, but that was at 5.5 furlongs. So we're cutting back a half a furlong now. 6 for 10 in the money at this distance. Both the wins were on the synthetic at Gulfstream Park. And again, I just think this race kind of sets up pretty nicely for this horse, who has a good career record on the synthetic and on the turf, or on the synthetic at Gulfstream. So, and at the distance. So I think at 10-1 for $1,000, this feels like a really good investment. I mean, even if this horse does get nabbed, if you see the replay of the last race and finishes third by a length, that's still going to get you 29 points in Stable Duel. So investing $1,000 for, a strong second or third place effort from a 10-1 horse makes a lot of sense in this spot. So, like I said, just looking at the race shape, thought perfect picture was going to be great. And if he crosses the line first, that will be picture perfect.
But Matt DeSantis, folks, he's here with us every Friday morning, slinging the hits just like that. And, it's great. I love when we do these shows, and that's one of the coolest things about handicapping horse racing cards, because all the names take you, in different places. We joke here and we'll get singing sometimes and we'll talk about movies or something. But what's funny is that me, right? I'll get us there. But then once I lead us there, sometimes I lead the horse to water and you guys will drink a little. So that's
we will.
Once we get there, then we all start sipping. But
definitely on the scissor. See?
Is that what's great? Yeah, sipping on the scissor, right? What's funny is that Picture Perfect was Jennifer Aniston and Kevin Bacon, and I was watching shout out the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special was which is really funny. And what they do in that special is they try to go, one of the guys is a fan of Kevin Bacon because he was like trapped in the 80s, and he remembers like Footloose and some of like when Kevin Bacon was big. And so they want to make him happy for Christmas. He's got the Christmas blues. So they go try to kidnap Kevin Bacon as the Christmas present for him. It's just, it's pretty funny. It's like so goofy. And Kevin Bacon's kind of like in on the joke, it's just really great. So now all day I'll be like, why am I thinking of Kevin Bacon so much? And it's going to lead me back to like Picture Perfect when I see this horse. And I'm going to think, look at how the hell did I get there, man? My mind does some crazy, crazy things as we get to race number 3, my man, Sniper. Right? I was gonna say, man. Just to give everybody
a feeling, I think in race 3, I think we're landing on the same.
It could be a law professor situation.
Let's see. Is it law professor? Barry, you lead us.
All right. Well, this is race 3 at Gulfstream today. State bred allowance for 54,000, going 6 furlongs on the main track. I landed on number 4, Alternate Rock.
Yep. Same one.
Same.
Oh,
see?
I knew it. Oh, we're back, baby. We're back.
I knew it. Yeah, I mean, you see all the speed in this race. You got the 1, the 2, the 3. They all should be going. Even the 6, maybe even the 7. I mean, this is definitely going to heat up. And Alternate Rock, if you look at that horse's races in June and July, that's the trip we want.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I like the race here on October 29th. A nice comebacker and a state bred, minor stake there. A couple good workouts. This horse is ready.
So the same horses that are in this race that are the number 4 and 5 today, they were the number 4 and 5 in this race. So Alternate Rock is the 4. That's our horse. The 5 is Charlie's Wish, who's 2-1. So watch our 4, who has a little bit of trouble right here. And now we know what's going to happen. Like we know where he's sitting right now. What's about to happen? He's going to get stuck in that bad spot.
Shut the door
right there on the inside.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
every
exactly
time.
right. And you can just see it. You can just feel it. You get the bump at the start. Now you're moving up on the inside. You're just behind the leaders. You're in a little tight. And like we see, he's just about to get shut off right there.
Yep.
And then what happens? You get shut off. You get the steady and you get backed up a little bit as right here, he starts scrubbing down on the inside. And now all of a sudden, it's like 2 lengths of positioning. And now he's going backwards as the 5 is moving forwards. Yeah. And that's the difference in the race right there. It's really hard sometimes to re-rally after that and come on again. And he's trying. But remember, this was his first start in a couple months. Or her. I keep saying he. This is her first start in a couple months. And the key, one thing I really liked about this race was, so going into that race, Alternate Rock was 7-2, and Charlie's Wish was 5-2. And then our horse had a bunch of trouble. And now the difference between them is 2-1 and 10-1 off of one troubled race.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like way too much just on
And
principle,
it is. I think this horse is going to get bet down anyway.
right?
I mean, not way down, but still will get bet down.
8-1, right? And that's fine. But like for Stable Duel, this was one obviously that jumped out to all three of us.
Yeah.
Right, Matt? Like it caught all of our eye here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you and Barry said is all spot on. I think also this horse is going to like the 6 furlong distance. Last time out was 7 furlongs. Like Barry, this horse needed one. I think under her belt and after the layoff should come, I think, run well in this spot. I like that Jaramillo is going to be the jockey here. So, I mean, there's just a lot to like in the spot. And again, this is a smaller field. I mean, it's a 7-horse field. So these are where you kind of take your shot on, you know, these 10-1 horses generally in smaller fields, because even if they finish again, second or third, you know, there's just not a lot of other competition here. As Barry pointed out, the pace is going to burn out of some of these horses. So I think the 4 is going to capitalize, at a nice trip. And I like the fact that they kept this horse on dirt, actually. And, you know, because they did a little bit of a turf experiment. Now they're kind of back on dirt. And I think that's where the horse is going to be best served. So, yeah, like the 4 here, lock it up.
3 locks, baby. The Law Professor lock of the week. Alternate Rock, the number 4. In race number 3 at Gulfstream.
Watch Law Professor be like the illest stallion of all time.
I know, right?
He's like,
Yeah.
he's like,
I can't wait to be talking to you guys in like 3 years,
Northern
and we're just talking
Dancer.
about Law Professor progeny. Just
Yeah,
geeking out over it.
Like 60 years, we're going to be like, oh, back in my day, Law Professor, right? We're going to be like the get off my lawn guys, you know? And then we're going to be our show is going to be like at 4 a.m. in the morning, because we're going to be, you know, at that point we're so old. It's just like, hey, everyone, let's just keep moving it
gotta
over.
get
and
something to do. We're bored.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to hit that early bird dinner special at like 7 a.m. So we got to finish our show early. I hope that 20, 30 years down the line, we're talking racing and we're having
for sure.
As we continue along. Where are we headed next? Matt, race number 4 at Gulfstream.
So I'm going to stick with the theme of the 4, because I recommended the 4 in the second race. We all recommended the 4 in the third race. I'm going to recommend the 4 in the fourth race.
Did your key just get stuck? When you were doing the handicapping this week?
It just got stuck. So we're and I always worry about that too when I pick like the same number in like 3 or 4 consecutive races. I'm like, this never happens. I'm like,
Right.
and so this is a little bit of an unusual race because it's a maiden optional claiming. You don't see a lot of those. You actually see those more up at like Woodbine. I feel like has a lot of maiden optional claimers, but you don't see a ton of these. So it's a maiden optional claimer for 2-year-olds, $50,000 per 7 furlongs on the dirt. I went with the number 4 occasion, excuse me. But this is a horse that is dropping down in class after running maiden special weights the last 2 times out. I think 7 furlongs is this horse's best distance. That actually was where, you know, I think he probably performed best in a state restricted $40,000 maiden special weight 2 out ago, finishing a pretty strong second. I also like the fact that Kathleen O'Connell, who I know is a little cold right now at Gulfstream in terms of winning, I like the fact she's not putting him up for a claim though. And so they clearly like this horse, I think, a little bit. And after they dropped him down into some maiden claimers, brought him back up to maiden special weight. I just think this horse makes a lot of sense in this. And also when you look through the rest of this field, there's just not a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of horses that have been kind of in the maiden claiming circuit who are kind of actually stepping up, you could argue, in class. And the horses that are run in the maiden special weights really haven't shown that much. This horse has shown some ability to pass other horses. Last time out wasn't great, but that was also at a mile. I just think that was a bridge too far. Like I said, I think cutting back to 7 furlongs makes a lot of sense. 6-1, occasion. That'll be my pick in race 4.
Number 4, race 4, all 4s today in the second, third, and fourth for Maddie as we continue along at Gulfstream. So that one at 6,000 will only cost you, or at 6-1 will only cost you $5,000, which is the exact average that you're looking for to build your Stable Duel lineup. Because remember, we're building a lineup based on a $50,000 salary cap where we have to fill 10 spots. So we're looking to have an average of about a 6-1 shot, or, you know, one race 10 to 1, then the next race that'll give you an opportunity if you want to spend up a little bit more. You have to do a little massaging along the way. Not like the Deshaun Watson massaging. He's coming back.
Hey,
That's a different massage. We're just talking about navigating through your salary cap. and
I just
putting
love that
everything-
Barry like physically backed up.
He was like,
from-
whoa,
like, whoa.
yeah. I got him from way over here in Long
No
Beach.
touching.
I was
No
creeping in
touching.
on Barry all the way through. I was gonna say.
No touching. See? Hands up.
As we move to race number 7, I believe, Barry, right? You
Six.
had
Six.
race here for Friday at Gulfstream Park. Talk to us about this one. 5.5 non-winners of 2.
I'm actually kind of excited about this one.
Mhm.
But I'm also a little wary that my horse might get bet down a little bit. And this is a $20,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime, going 5.5 on the synthetic. These races are usually full of a lot of chaos, especially on the synthetic, especially going 5.5. I mean, because you'll get horses that'll just burn themselves out on the synthetic, and you get closers. And this race is no different. I think there's a lot of speed in here. I think the 1 Mogaloo has to go. Blank's hat trick number 3 will definitely be firing out of there. On Jet Air probably is going to have to go. Royal Mahogany is definitely going. So there's quite a bit of speed signed on here, and I ended up on number 6, Watch the Music. And this horse is actually dropping in, and on the surface, it's like, well, why is this horse here? And you look through that horse's body of work, and this horse has not proven to be better than this spot. Even though this horse is dropping down, almost won back in July on the turf at Ellis. But I think this is a very, very logical spot, and this horse has some races to go back to that fit with this field. I think the drop down is a key, and also the running style. This horse shouldn't be too far off the pace, close enough to close and win, and I'm okay with that. If this horse is anywhere 8 to 1, we're going to push all the chips in.
Yeah, this is a big class relief. This is going to be a nice fit for Watch the Music here. I agree. It's a good find here. 8 to 1 on Watch the Music. This one will only cost you $3,000 to use in your stable dual lineup today in race number 6 at Gulfstream Park. And a nice pick 4 or pick 5 type of horse if you're looking at playing any of the late exotics. I've got one more at Golf.
You know what's funny actually about this race and this horse? If you look at the PPs for No Man Left Behind, the 8, the trainer is Jeffrey Hiles on the 6. And he kind of did a similar move with that horse that almost won back on November 4th. So you see the cutback from the round 70 to the 5.5, and really the horse came flying late.
Yeah.
And almost won and was claimed out of that race from somebody else. But, you know, it's kind of the similar pattern, and I think this horse will be able to take to the synthetic.
Watch the Music, 8 to 1 on the morning line. I have one more at Gulfstream Park for Friday, and we will look at race number 8. As of now, this one is still on the turf, so fingers crossed that will remain. And I'm just looking at a really consistent horse in the 1, Fastest Flight, in here. The way this race looks on paper is towards the outside. There are a couple speeds. You've got Porqué No, who draws post 12, and they've got the blinkers on. So I think they're going for sure. They're going to be forced a little bit. You have Frippet, who's not quite as fast, but Frippet's parked out wide too. So I think they're going to have to try to go at least to secure a position and probably speed things up a little bit more than they would like. So I think with those 2 horses out wide, those 2 will be forwardly placed. 1 or 2 others that have some speed, maybe like a Bramble Bay. This horse, the 1, Fastest Flight, should get a beautiful trip from the rail, just tracking all of them, like sitting the same exact style of trip that she got last time out, where she was maybe 2 lengths off. She can win on the lead, which she's done here on the synthetic at Gulfstream Park, but she's really been consistent overall throughout her career. I mean, you can look at some of the races and they all make sense. Again, She was off from February to September this year. She shows back up in September, going 6.5 at Kentucky, kind of a prep race to get her ready for her a couple races going longer. Then in October at Keeneland, she has a little bit of trouble there, and she comes back and she puts it all together at Churchill Downs. She just is really consistent. I think she fits well with this group. She'll save all the ground. I think with Julian aboard, she won't be on the lead, which is what I want in here. I want her to be sitting third or fourth because of those horses from the outside. So I like her versatility. If they stay on the grass, Fast as Flight will be in the mix for me. If she's anything over 5-1, I'll play her to win. And she just feels like a really solid stable duel type of horse in here. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, these are the types that you want. You get a good run for your money, have some consistency. Fast as Flight, race 8.
You know, if funny enough, I almost picked a horse in here, just, you know, kind of an out of the box thing, and it's another Jeff Hiles horse with Bridgman, the 7. Someone's telling me this horse is going to bounce back and run a decent race. I don't know if this horse could actually win. That's why I didn't pick that one. But at 20-1, maybe worth a second look.
And I know this horse. I was going to say, I know this horse from Sam Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember Chad and Josh are very good owners from up at Emerald. And they were coming to Texas the last couple of years with Lucarelli, and they would claim horses, and they're sharp. So like when you see them in on a horse at some point, the horses probably had some ability because they do a really good job. I agree, Barry. This horse is sneaky here. Good fight. This is a nice find. If you look at these races back down here at Sam Houston, they are really, really good. And since then, they've just taken some shots in some stakes races recently. So
right, getting back with their friends.
Yeah, this is a nice little find here. Back on the turf also, and a couple positives. Good fight. If you're playing any type of late exotics, maybe another one to throw in. And keep in mind, today at Gulfstream, there's 9 races. So you may have to double up in one spot. Perhaps this is the place that you look at for doubling up. So that's a look at Gulfstream Park for Friday. That's for everybody, right? We're all good on Gulfstream now we make the move on over to Del Mar for Friday. Really nice weekend at Del Mar this weekend. On Saturday, a couple graded stakes races. It's the Hollywood Derby coming up this weekend, and we will get to Friday. Friday, Matt, you have races 3 and 7.
Yep.
Friday, Barry, you have races 4 and 9.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I will also have races 3, 4, and 6. So Maddie,
this card at Del Mar, the card today is really tough.
It is.
It's not like spectacular or overwhelming, but it's a very
challenging
tough card. I just think you might get a lot of prices today.
So, Maddie, talk to us about Del Mar. I'll pull up the past performances. Tell us who you like in that third race.
Yeah, so the third race is $32,000 maiden claimer for 2-year-olds on the dirt, 6 furlongs. And we were talking earlier about a race, the fourth race at Gulfstream, I was saying, was not a particularly strong field. This field makes that field look like the Kentucky Derby. So this is a very, very weak field.
Yes.
And this was one where I wasn't sure where I was going, but I ended up going to the outside in the number 8 Top Gun Classic.
You never close your eyes
anymore
when I kiss your lips.
I just lobbed the softball
and
just lobbed it up.
Tenderness like before in your fingertips. I'm with you, Maddie. We're on the same one today too. So go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's why I had it keyed up because I knew this Top Gun Classic, baby. So I was like, baby, I was getting ready.
I love it. The 8 makes I just think all the sense in the world. I mean, this horse, if you look last time out, ran against Having a Meltdown, who's a stakes winner and is maybe the best Baffert sprinter right now. Among those 2-year-olds. So, I mean, was running against extremely good class and is now dropping down, showed a little bit of speed early last time out at 8-1. It's only going to cost you $3,000 on Stable Duel. I just think this horse makes all the sense in the world. He's coming back from a layoff. It's going to be, a class drop as well. Getting a little bit of a weight allowance on top of that. I just think it's a good post position. and he should be able to slot in where he wants and get a pretty nice trip. So
he sort of jumps off because he shouldn't be 8-1.
no,
right?
that's the
'Cause
thing is
in this race, there's nobody like has anything to go off of at all.
That's the thing. So to kind of drill that point home, his last effort was a 41 Beyer speed figure. Okay, the favorite in this race, who is the 6 Argentina Cries, is 9-5 on the morning line. Ran a whopping 36 last time.
And
out.
his
so
best race was a 41.
Right on the
Also.
turf.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you just when you start looking through this race, even if you're not overwhelmed by the 8, you just kind of don't have anybody else to even go to. So I just felt the 8 was just the most logical choice here.
2 races against maiden special weights, both times drew the rail.
Yeah.
Both times had slow starts. And honestly, the last race, I bet you this horse is going to be on the lead today from the outside.
Would not surprise me.
Because look at how this race shaped up. He's the one here last time out. And so much better start, right?
Yep.
But then what happens? The horses line up to the outside of you. You kind of get stuck behind him on the inside, and it doesn't look like you're quite as fast as you were, right? Because he couldn't quite move through. Now this horse is on the outside. He's going to break, and they're just going to shotgun him. That's got to be the game plan here. He has faced so much better horses in those 2 races. Having a meltdown is a multiple graded stakes winner. The runner up there, Mr. Iceman, came back to win a maiden special weight in their next start. And I mean, he's like the only one in here that you can get something to get excited about, because at least he showed some positional speed against a lot better horses.
I don't think we'll get anywhere near 8-1 in terms of betting, but from a stable duel standpoint, I mean, this is highway robbery. I mean, I would absolutely include this horse in every single stable I'm using out at Del Mar today.
You've lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone, gone, gone.
Whoa.
Dangerous. You're dangerous.
Guys, I think we may need to do a Christmas album. I love the way that you were. I love we were doing backup for each other and right there and everything, Matt. It was just going like Matt, you've got the look that you could be on the album of our Christmas album.
There you go.
Look like you're dressed always like in such nice Christmas, like festive holiday garb. You're so respectful with how you dress always for us. So I love it. Let's continue along today at Del Mar. So we just hit race number 3. I've got one right next door in race number 4. Matt, you're going to be in the 7th, and Barry, you are going to be in the 4th also. Yeah. Okay, my man, Sniper, talk to us about this 4th race. Who are you looking at?
All right, man. I think we might end up on the same horse, but we'll see. I think we are. This is a state bred maiden special weight 70K, 5 furlongs on the turf. I ended up on number 7, Bill Byrne Joe Jonick.
What a great name, too.
I was thinking about using this horse, actually.
We're on different
ones.
Okay.
If you can pull up the replay of that one race this horse had, and honestly, the chart call doesn't really tell you the whole story. This horse actually ran sort of a winning race, right? And kind of gets shuffled back early, and then kind of makes a move. I think the comment erratic is kind of right, because the horse kind of ran in spots. But you'll see this horse kind of make a steady progress here on the outside, and it's a pretty decent move. And you can see in the stretch that this horse is green. And I think this horse got a lot out of this race, and having the outside post this time really sealed the deal for me. But you see right now the horse is just making his way up into 3rd, and this is a really good move right here. This is once they get this horse settled and be able to run straight, that'll make all the difference. And I think that this was very, very good experience for this horse, and now he kind of slows down and
that middle move out, though. That's the punch. That's what you're trying to see. You're trying to see like a middle move into a race like this where nobody was catching the 9. Right. The 9 was just
easy speed, easy lone speed almost. I mean, the horse that dueled with that horse was no good anyway. But that's a good first time out race,
Yep.
from now the post position outside. Getting Maldonado again, I think this horse is probably going to show a little bit better speed, because I think that horse didn't really break all that great either, and that's not mentioned in the comments. But this field isn't anything to write home about. I mean, if you want to take a first-time starter going 6 on the turf, go right ahead. But I just don't like that kind of thing. Usually second time out, they have, a race under their belt. And 15-1 on the line seems a little bit absurd, but I'll take it.
15-1, a big price, and that will only cost Barry $500 in the stable duel lineup there. So you've got Bill, Byrne, Joe, John, and Nick. I've got Johnny Paycheck, just a couple up, the number 3. Now, Johnny Paycheck had legitimate trouble in the debut back in March, going 5 furlongs on the turf. Fine start. He's in tight. He's in the 2 path. He gets shuffled back. He loses a couple lengths of positioning. He comes running again. He finishes a really good 4th. But following that, he has a couple of months off. He shows back up in June, and he misses the break, and he just doesn't really fire. Now he has a few months off. He shows back up. And what's interesting to me is this horse's race on the grass being good is no surprise, because when you look at him, he has the right to be a nice turf horse. He's a half to Enola Gray, who was very, very nice, a really nice Calbred horse who was a graded stakes winner on the grass, who was a multiple stakes winner on the turf. Alice Marble was also a nice horse on the turf, multiple stakes winner, grade 2 placed. So there's definitely some turf in the pedigree. We saw that good turf race in the debut. I have no concern about this horse being ready to rock off of, a slight layoff here, because D'Amato is fine at bringing horses back and ready to rock like this. I think it's a good spot for Johnny Paycheck. If we see something similar to that debut, I think we'll be in good shape here with Johnny Paycheck, 6-1 on the morning line. It's Friday. Let's cash it. Johnny Paycheck, fellas, 6-1. That'll be 5,000 in our stable duel lineup. So I've got one more in the 6th race. You guys are in races 7 and 9,
yeah,
I believe,
7
right?
and 9.
Okay, cool. So race number 6 is my next one. I thought there was a good amount of speed in this 6th race. They'll be going a mile on the turf in here, sort of looking at the way it shapes up. You've got loud music from the inside, really, really fast. You've got Storming Lady, who's stretching out from sprint races. Wouldn't be a shock to see her more forwardly placed in here. You've got Dendera, who is probably more of a tracker to a closer in this spot, but Imperial Creed wants to be close up. Varoma is going to be my selection, because I think Varoma is going to get a really nice trip coming from way out of it. You look towards the outside, you have another couple that want some more speed. So Much Happy stretching out from 5.5, where they were right on the lead, showing sub 22 speed. You've also got Galavie. Remember how fast Galavie is? This mare, she can really push the pace when they go long, and she stretches back out from 6 furlongs. So there is a good amount of speed in here, and I think it'll be very nice for some of the closers in here to just take back, relax, and try to come rolling late. And that's Varoma for me. Varoma, second start off that short little break. She'll put 2 races together, and you just start going through her form. She's a deeper closer who has some trouble in races where there's not a lot of early pace. And in those types of races, she just doesn't really have a shot. In races that'll set up better for her, she should. Last time out, she closed very well. She was a really good second. She was in a small field and kind of in between horses. I think she'll take all the way back, settle, come running. Varoma, 6-1 on the morning line. She'll only cost us 5,000 in our stable duel lineup. And when a lot of horses in this race are going to be tired and backing up, she should be passing them and at least be picking us up some stable duel points here in race.
What do you
number
make
6.
of the 1? I was curious, because I looked at this race.
Total wild
really
card, right?
hard. Yeah. I don't know what to make of the 1, and that's why I kind of stayed away from this race, because I don't know. It's just, he's a hard read.
Well, what I'm concerned about is with the bug aboard, I think that they're gonna try to fly from the rail, and if that happens with the other speed in this race, it may not shape up all that well for her. Like, as a horse, I think she's very interesting, and I wouldn't have minded playing her in this race if there wouldn't have been as much speed, or maybe if we had a different. I don't have a problem with Al Segura as a rider, but to me, it sort of signals that they're going to want to show speed, putting the bug on with the rail draw. So I think that they go, and I'm not sure if that's like the kind of trip that you need in this race.
Yeah.
That'd be my only
because
concern.
I saw that too. Because if you go back to that October 15th race, one on the lead with Drayden Van Dyke at a higher level, slightly higher level, but really the same class. But this horse has shown the ability to come off the pace,
Absolutely.
and that's what confused me about that one.
Yeah.
And if they can secure like a nice trip behind, she fits for sure. I was just sort of worried about, like, is she going to be in between the trip?
And that's the thing, is that race, the last one, they dipped down way too low, and that's where the horse got claimed, and that won by 16. And it's hard to know how much energy that horse expended. I don't know if you watched that race, but
to get a gauge.
I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was.
So it's just hard. It was a hard read, and I was like, I'll stay away.
Dust City there. But Maddie is going to head right next door in race number 7. Talk to us about the 7th, buddy.
Yeah, so the 7th is a $70,000 maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies, and it is a state-bred restricted race. So little, some different names in terms of trainers as opposed to some of the big maiden special weights that we might see at Del Mar, Santa Anita, things like that. So I ultimately went to the number 8, and this is, if I didn't mention, is 6 furlongs on the dirt. And the number 8 is 10 to 1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $1,000 in stable duel. Love Our Family is the name of the horse. I thought this horse had a really promising first time out effort at Santa Anita, going 5.5. Now, granted, it was a maiden claimer, but it was also against Open Company. And now we're kind of stepping up. Maybe it's more of a lateral move going up to kind of the way, at least I think about it, as a lateral move, kind of going to a state restricted maiden special weight now. So, this horse showed some ability to run, kind of pressured the leader a little bit, faded a bit, but also then re-rallied a little bit as well. So I just thought that it was a pretty mature effort first time out. What I really like is that if they had wanted to, they could have easily put this horse in race 3, and this horse would have probably been the favorite in race 3. That we had been talking about earlier, because of 52 buyers and like that sort of effort first time out would have smoked that race 3 field. The fact that they bring this horse back in a maiden special weight to avoid the claim, I think says that they probably like this horse because there was another race on the card where this horse would have absolutely fit. So I kind of looked into that. I also there's a few first timers here. There's a few horses that are switching surfaces.
Question marks, right?
Yeah, there's a few question marks. I mean, the number 3, Charlie, is the 5-2 favorite, and understandably so. Ran a big number and it's pretty solid effort last time out in a stake race that was restricted. But again, I think at 10 to 1 for only $1,000 in stable duel, the 8 just makes a lot of sense. Love Our Family as a horse that has shown speed, has shown the ability to kind of handle going 5.5, 6 furlongs, being able to show that speed and being able to still finish pretty well. So that's going to be my pick in race 7.
Let's move to race number 9, right, Barry? That's where we're headed to close things out. Got to close out the
bailout. The
bailout. Barry in the Friday finale. Talk to us about Friday, Barry.
Yeah, so this is the state-bred fillies $50,000 maiden claimer, going 5.5 on the main track. I ended up with number 5, Blur's Day, at 10 to 1 on the morning line. And, if you look up and down this field, there's nobody that's just going to jump off the page at you. Like,
I was going to say, I've had a few Blur's Days in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Thirsty Blur's Days.
I've had a couple of those. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. College life. Lovely.
Back, I was going to call it those Thursday nights, right? When you didn't have Friday the next day. Now we got the Friday morning early show, so I don't have as many Blur's Days as I used to, but yeah.
Can't do that. And there's some names in here, like the 8 American Conquest, second time Peter Miller, Flavian Pratt. It's going to attract a lot of attention. You got maybe the 2 horse might catch some play, but nobody's like blowing anybody away. And I went to the 5A because of the price, And I like those two works on November 2nd and then November 19th, gate works. Usually is a pretty decent indicator of a horse's abilities when they work decent from the gate. I don't see much of that in here. In fact, those might be the best two gate works on the page from anybody in this race. So I think this horse might be ready to fire first time out. Ryan Hansen does pretty good with these types. Gets his go-to rider in Ramon Vasquez. So I'm going to give this one a really good shot to win and bail us out at 10-1, which we probably won't get. I think a lot of these horses, it's going to be, like a 7-2 favorite in here, maybe 5-2 favorite, but nobody's going to overwhelm this field with any action or anything else. So I'm willing to give a horse like Blur's Day a shot here.
It's the Bailout Blur's Day Berry special in race number 9 at Del Mar today, a little bit later on. So that's a look at some of our best bets today, Friday at Del Mar. Let's turn the page from Friday to Saturday. Do we have the schedule
We
up
do.
yet for Saturday?
We
Awesome,
do.
Matt. Why don't you let us know what we have for Saturday?
Yeah, so Saturday we have the same 3 tracks running and some different competitions. So Tampa Bay Downs, $5 game, single entry, $300 pot. Gulfstream Park, it's another $40 double up with a $400 pot, limit to 3 entries. And then a couple of really great contests out at Del Mar. So there's the Del Mar Hollywood Derby contest, $50 entry, $3,000 pot. And then there's also a $10 single entry, $600 pot out at Del Mar. So I know some folks always like to, some folks sometimes will talk to Stable Duel about saying, a lot of the times those West Coast contests might be a little bit more expensive. So something a little bit less expensive, $10 if you want to get in the game at Del Mar on Saturday for their big Hollywood Derby Day.
Affordable options on Hollywood Derby Day on Saturday. But before we get to Del Mar, let's talk about Gulfstream Park. I've got a few plays at Del Mar, but I know the two of you have a couple at Gulfstream Park. Matt's going to be looking at races 1 and 8, and Barry's going to be looking at races 5 and 7. So Matt, we'll start with you right off the bat. We'll go maiden 50 claimers on the turf.
Yeah, so another kind of maiden optional claimer, 50 on the turf, like you said, for 2-year-olds, 1 mile. And I kind of like 2 horses here, but I'll talk about the bigger shot first, which is Royal Fox Hills, number 2 horse for Christophe Clement. 8-1 on the morning line would only cost you $3,000. So very inexpensive horse to use in this spot for connections that you really trust. I mean, how often do you get a Christophe Clement horse on the turf for 8-1 in this type of a spot? You don't see that very often. This is a horse that was supposed to run on the turf. Race got taken off, ran on the dirt up at Belmont at Aqueduct. And so, in my opinion, you just draw a line through that race. This is a horse. Army Mule has not had many progeny try the turf, but those who have been really successful. 2 out of 3 winners. So there's certainly something to be said there. Also, it's a little bit of also poking holes in the favorite, Imposter Syndrome, which I think is maybe an apt name horse in this particular spot, because look at those last 2 works on the turf. 54-second, 4 furlong.
Was that you working?
108
or this horse?
108 5 furlong work. I mean, maybe that horse just saves it for the race, but I mean, I feel like Allen Iverson. Like, practice? Are we talking about practice here? Like, what's going on? I mean,
Not a game.
Not a game.
Not a game. No, not a game. So, I mean,
and then he stops and and then he pops himself like twice.
One of the greatest sports rants of all time.
So great. I wish it was in social media age. Because if thinking about the memes and the GIFs, if we would have all been experiencing that together, that would have just been all-timer.
That and Jim Mora playoffs.
Right.
And so, that's why I look at Imposter Syndrome and I'm just like, I don't know if this horse, I mean, I know this horse ran a decent speed figure, but was 7th and really not much of a factor last time out at Woodbine. So I just kind of look past that. And again, I just kind of trust the connections there with Clement and Gonzalez. And I just think this horse makes a fair amount of sense to run a pretty big spot, and is also dropping down in class, going from that maiden special weight down to a maiden optional claimer. The other horse I'll very quickly mention is the 8, Ready for Diamonds. This is a 5-1 horse for Sweezy. And I like the last two works on the turf, actually, particularly that November 26th work. Last time out was a nice kind of brisk turf work, minute and 2, 5 furlong. And I bring that up because, as you mentioned, they're back on the turf for the first time in a long time. So a lot of these horses don't have any turf in their background. If they've been down at Gulfstream Park, they've been running on the Tapeta or they've been running on dirt. So I think getting on the turf is going to help this horse a lot. I think getting the blinkers off should actually be kind of a nice move. Will allow this horse to relax a little bit. The horse has shown some, decent tactical speed. So if he needs to save some ground and coming over a little bit from the outside rail or outside post, that shouldn't be an issue. So the 2 and the 8 for me were both intriguing, depending on what, how much money you have to play with in your stable. You can go with one or the other. If you're looking to save a little bit of money, I really like that too, though.
A couple different options there for everybody at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. That's in race number 1 to kick things off right off the bat. Sniper, you're looking at race number 5, and Matt, you'll go to the 8th. So we'll go Barry race 5 and 7, and then we'll get back to Matt for race number 8. Barry, talk to us about the 5th.
All right. So this is a mile and a 16th, $20,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime. And this race is a little bit interesting, especially because they haven't been running on the turf at Gulfstream. So, a lot of these horses are coming either from somewhere else or have been running on the synthetic. And that can, yield some serious prices if you play your cards right. And, this field is kind of, exactly where they should be. They're all kind of mediocre. But you got to pick one if you're going to, win. So we're going to take number 4, the best distance. And the reason I like this horse is if you go to the April 29th race and May 19th race of this year, those races are probably a lot better on paper than most of these other horses have on their entire resume. If you go from there, you see the horse ran on synthetic, a couple of times and just didn't seem to like it, especially that last time. Then they stepped the horse up and went to Mountaineer to try to get that casino money, and did okay. But I really think this is what this horse wants to do. I mean, his past races on the turf at Gulfstream are pretty good. In comparison to the rest of this field, I think this horse may have a little bit of an edge. One that I might, look out for is the horse next to that one, number 5, Aztec, who might have some upside here. But I'm going to go with, the best distance, number 4, to take this in a really contentious 5th race.
Couple different options for you, but the best distance does seem like a really nice fit in here in this spot.
Yeah, well, the thing is the best horse you would think is the best horse on paper is the 11 Back Chat, and that post is just tough. It's just too tough for me to take a horse in a race like this. That'll probably be shorter than 9-2.
The best distance and Aztec, a couple players there for you at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Let's continue. We'll go to race number 7 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We're going a mile on the turf in here. Optional 25, first level allowance. Shout out to Carruthers, Matt and Ren. Love me the Carruthers, the two of them, both fantastic people. Barry, who are we looking at in this one?
Yeah, this one, I'm going to throw downfield here. I think this is a really wide open race. Again, same thing. This is another turf race, optional claimer 25,000, going a mile on the turf course. Everybody's either coming from synthetic or they're coming from somewhere else. I ended up on number 10 on thin ice at 20-1 morning line. Now, if you look before this horse's last race, which was on November 6th, if you see the winners of the races there, you'll see Tiz the Bomb 3 times.
Yep. Who's
a stakes winner, and Tawny Port once, who won the Ohio Derby, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
I think so. And that one on January 7th was a pretty decent race behind Tawny Port. And I think that fits here all the way around. I mean, it's tough it's a tough read, and I think the 20-1 comes from this horse not really running on the turf too much. But I don't think this horse can't run on the turf.
Well, I mean, like, let's just like, I know, and because it's hard because the turf races are earlier when this horse was younger, right?
Right.
Like,
And it looked like he improved. He's improved almost every
ago.
race.
I
Yeah.
know this is a sneaky horse, Barry. I like this find.
Yeah,
I like
and
this one.
and that last race kind of solidified it because this is probably where the level should be. And Mark Casse does some of his best work on the turf.
Well, let's just compare. And I know I'm not saying, so if you're watching this, please don't like say, well, it's not the same. I'm not saying that, but like, let's just look at the speed figures for the 10 and the 11, right? On the turf, this horse ran a buyer speed figure of 82 last time out, and is 3-1 and might be favored in this race. And this horse ran an 82 on the synthetic last time out and is 20-1, but has races on the turf that are solid and all that time off. Not only was it time off, but that's like time off at the most pivotal time in a horse's career when they're developing, right? And they're really growing up from the beginning of your 3-year-old year to the end of your 3-year-old season. Think about how we watch these horses in the Triple Crown develop from like the Florida Derby and those races early in Gulfstream to where they are now, right? Like that's what this horse has done. I think this is a nice sneaky find, Barry. I like this one.
Running in grade 3, grade 2 races. I mean, this horse is grade 3, place, finished third in the gray, I guess the gray stakes up at Woodbine.
Yeah.
So there's no reason. I just don't think that, with this kind of class relief, I think this horse fits perfectly here and will give him hell. I mean, the other horse that I took a long look at was actually the one inside of that one, Modern Science. But I think that one might need one.
I agree.
That's why I ended up on thin ice.
On thin ice, 20-1 for the Sniper in race number 7. Matt's going to finish us up at Gulfstream Park for Saturday with race number 9. Talk to us about this one, Matty.
Oh, race number 8. I'm sorry.
Oh, race number 8. My fault.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's $53,000 maiden special weight, state restricted for 2-year-olds, 6 furlongs on the dirt. A lot of first timers in this particular race. And so one of the things I think we all look for is trainer intent. Try to see which trainers get them ready out of the box a little bit better than others, and which of them let them run into shape. Michael Yates winning 19% first time out, which is a pretty strong stat, all things considered for this particular spot. So Cajun Dream, the number 7 is where I ended up going. Also, Cajun Breeze, the sire, has produced 20% first out winners. So if you're looking for, some precocious pedigree there, that certainly would indicate that this is a horse that, is going to run pretty well. And first time out, make a good account of himself. And if you also look, the works have been really solid. I particularly like the fact that they gave him a 5 furlong work on November 26th, minute and 4, which was the 3rd fastest out of 15 that day. Otherwise, have been ticking off some really good gate works and 4 furlongs as well. So it doesn't seem like the gate's going to be an issue. I like the fact this horse draws a little further outside. I just think this horse has, demonstrates through the workouts, at least, that this horse has some tactical speed if it needs to use it. But just really like the combination of pedigree, trainer intent, etc.
Little, like,
makes a
all
lot
the
of sense.
little things, right? Like it's checking the little boxes, the damn one first time out, right? Shows some precocity there, which is also a positive. Like you mentioned, trainer, good, positive, work, tab, check, positive. Like, you go through that little checklist that you're looking at with things with first time starters. And I think you can put a lot of checks next to the number 7 here, and hopefully we'll cash another check there with Cajun Dream Saturday at Gulfstream Park. So that's a look at the Saturday Gulfstream card. We will be diving into Gulfstream Park probably every single weekend for the next 5 months or so right here. If you're a fan of that Florida racing, you want to make sure you set your alarms for every weekend, Friday morning, 10 o'clock. We'll be talking lots of Gulfstream, probably some Tampa popping in some weekends here and there. And, Gulfstream now gets a major focus because some of the best horses in the U.S. are going to be based and running at Gulfstream Park in the coming months. So really excited about what's to come at Gulfstream Park. But let's finish up our show with a little Saturday Del Mar. Let's take a couple looks at Del Mar. First Saturday, it's Hollywood Derby Day. And as you mentioned, Matt, they have a couple different options for Del Mar contest. You are going to be looking in races 3 and 7. I'm going to dive in the opener right off the bat. So, Matt, while I'm pulling this up, remind the folks again one more time what are our Saturday Del Mar options in case anyone wants to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two of them. There's the and of course it's the Hollywood Derby Day, and so there's a big contest, a $50 3-entry limit, but $3,000 pot. So $50 entry, $3,000 pot at Del Mar, and then there's a $10 single entry game with a $600 pot. So I know those single entry games have become pretty exciting. I think it's a lot of us who play multiple entries like to play around with some different strategies sometimes with each stable. But that single entry contest really forces you just to stick to one idea and kind of go with your best shot and see where all the chips fall. So should be a lot of fun out there, whether it's a $30 or a $10 game.
Okay, I got to ask the two of you guys. Who was the runner-up in last year's Hollywood Derby?
Me.
Santon?
Santon.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's your
it was
boy.
either Santon or
It's your guys' guy, so I had to give you the little.
Got to give me that Santon money.
A little
all
lob ball.
day.
You can't get the Santon money anymore
No, you
because
can't.
everybody's on to
You
him.
guys ruined the Santon money. Everybody
Yeah.
knows now from you, but you gave me the lob ball with Top Gun. I had to throw you a softball right back with Santon.
Absolutely.
And
And by the way, let me just say this. We need to get back to these sorts of great, and this is one thing I love about California and the connection to Hollywood is that you have like the Bob Hope Stakes, the Jimmy
Right.
Durante Stakes.
Cool names.
I love it. The Bing Crosby Stakes.
Bing,
Like we need to
yes.
bring that back. Nobody's
Yeah, we
naming
need to
anything-
bring some horses out there.
Yeah, we do. And but
true.
nobody's running in the Matt Damon Stakes. It's just we need to get we need
I
to get
would.
some better.
I'd run in the Ben Affleck stakes as long as they would give me,
Affleck, yes,
Big
I
Apple?
agree.
like the part of the purse would be probably like
His divorce
a carton
settlement.
of a carton of cigarettes getting served with divorce papers and a bottle of vodka. That would be the
I saw
purse.
a GIF last night or a meme, whatever, one of them, where somebody had the score of the Bills Patriots game, like 24-10, and it was the clip of Matt Damon walking up and showing the phone number. When he got her phone number.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like the guy's a Bills fan.
Smash it on the-
He walks up to a bunch of Patriots fans sitting down and he smashes it up. And then on the paper, they had it written down Bills 24, Patriots 10. I was like, oh, nice. That was pretty well done. I got a kick out of that one.
I love it.
As let's finish up our show here with some Del Mar for Saturday in race number 1. This is a really contentious race, but anytime Jonathan Wong sends some of these horses down to Southern California,
Mm-hmm.
they're live because otherwise he would just keep them in Northern California and run for much shorter odds. They would be like in way, way softer spots and they'd have a much better chance to win. But when he ships a horse down, he knows that they're good enough to compete and they should be running for bigger money. And that's the case here with the number 11 in this race, Autism Community, who debuted going a mile on the synthetic at Golden Gate. That's just not an easy thing to do. Go long first time out of the box as a 2-year-old filly, because usually what that tells you is the horse doesn't have early speed. When a barn will debut a horse going long, it's usually because they're not very quick. So they're hoping like, hey, let's get a race under them and like maybe that'll get them some fitness. And then in a few races, they'll have a little bit more of that early speed. And that was the case with this horse. No early speed whatsoever. But wow, did she start to figure things out in like the middle portion of this race? All of a sudden, she makes this huge middle move right into it, looming up. And then she just got she flattened out a little bit after coming right into contention. And that was on the synthetic. Now she's going to step on the grass. I mean, this horse is really bred well for the turf. Her damn Rexy didn't win on it or anything. And you look through and like there are no immediate siblings that are like monster turfers. But when you just look at the overall pedigree, this should be a very, very nice horse on the grass. It's a wide open race, right? It's not like going to be an easy spot for her, but she should be like a 5 or 6 to 1 shot in here. And it's a fun horse to use in a pick 5 to start. And I'm going to be playing her if she has anything in that 5 to 1 ish range. The number 11, Autism Community, 6 to 1 on the morning line. And that'll only cost us $5,000. So that's right on that average, Matt, that we're looking for
Yeah, I really
that we
like
need to
this.
keep.
I was really considering giving this horse out as well. So I really like this play a lot. Yeah.
That's the 11
Gonna
in
get
race.
crushed at the window, by the way. Just
Yeah,
Yeah,
7
totally.
to 2,
But
right?
yeah.
Seven,
lower
first
than
place.
that. I think this horse
Yeah.
might even go favored.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Funny
And if we
enough,
can
but-
take advantage in stable duel and
That's all that
and
matters.
catch a little value and give us an opportunity to spread around a little later on, that should help us out quite a bit. So Matt, I'm my next play is in the 5th. I believe you've got another. You got one in the 3rd, right?
Yep, I'm in the 3rd.
Okay.
Which is an $80,000 optional claimer, non-winners at 2, with a whole lot of conditions, and on the turf, a mile and a 16th. And this is one where I ended up going to the 7 Macadamia, 8-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $3,000. This is a horse for Phil D'Amato. Phil D'Amato, I mean, Chad Brown can claim that he owns the turf in Belmont, but Phil D'Amato owns the turf out in Southern California. I mean, he has been
It's
on
even worse. Like it's crazy. He
It
was
is.
winning
Yeah,
like
and
almost
you know, because it's like
30%.
quieter, you don't hear it. It's not like talked about quite as much. But then you look up, and be like,
Yep.
there are 3 more D'Amato turf horses in this race. Huh? Like,
I mean, he's
it's yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like he's even on a roll even more these last couple of months.
I know.
mean, so he's just on a heater. Obviously, you see him winning at 37% for the meet so far. And he's got I think the favorite in this race as well, the number 3, which is Buzz of New York. But I really like Macadamia here. This horse is coming back from a little bit of a layoff. Last ran actually on my birthday, and on August 19th. But this is a horse that just doesn't turn in a bad effort, really. I mean,
No.
has run kind of consistently solid speed figures since coming to the United States from Brazil. That's always something, you know, Gino, we've talked about before. You never know how that Latin American form translates to Southern California sometimes. Sometimes it takes horses a little bit of time. You just never know the quality, the caliber of racing that they've been doing down there. So,
Well, Matt, find me the race where you're not going to get stable duel points for Macadamia.
That's
You
the thing.
won't. There's not one.
Every single race.
They're all
You're gonna
points. They're all good races.
Yeah, you're going to get, the worst you're going to do is get like 17 points out of this horse, which again, for $3,000 is a good return on investment, actually. So I just think this horse is looking good. The turf works leading up to this indicate this horse is ready to go. D'Amato gets him ready off this sort of a layoff, winning at a 24% clip. I just think this horse has some versatility too, had showed speed last time out, but also has come from off the pace the previous 2 efforts. So I just think the combination of versatility, the trainer, the connections, and the kind of general shape of this race, I like Macadamia here to get you positive points in a race at Del Mar on Saturday.
Usually you'll hear people say like, oh, I played this horse on that day, and it's usually a win. For me, it's always a loss. Like I played Macadamia on July 22nd, but she ran really well that day.
She did.
Honestly, her 3 races in the US, they all make perfect sense. They do. Like the first on June the 17th, she had not run since October of 2021. She needed the race. She was a little bit short late, only beaten a couple lengths. Then she comes back. She takes a nice little step forward on July the 22nd, a really good 3rd that day. And then they try to go a little longer, and they just found out that was probably a little farther than where she wants to go on August the 19th. Perfect. Like it's not all linear in racing. Sometimes even with guys like Phil D'Amato, it's a little trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Let's try that. Does that work? Nope. That's a little too far. Now we cut back, right? Oh, okay. Now they did that time we let him run a little too loose early on. Now let's sit this horse more of like a mid pack, or let's take the blinkers off. That's what it is, right? And I think as handicappers, we have to be forgiving because of that. Too many people will say, "Oh, that horse last time out," and they don't want to make an excuse for that. That's what this whole show is about, right? Like that's what we're doing. And that's
you're never going to find value if you can't make excuses.
Never.
Like you're just going to end up on chalk in every single race because the people who set morning lines make sense. Hey,
we're
big boy.
hey.
off to school, right? Say
Nah,
hi.
it's school. It's not school.
Wave to. Say hi, Matt. Hi, Barry. One kiss. Kiss for Papa.
My
Okay,
guy.
one kiss. Okay.
All
Have a
right.
nice day, buddy. See you later.
I love it. I love
So
it when we
weird
get
now.
cameos.
I know, right? It's so weird to see my son heading off to school right now. I feel like the grays are really coming in the beard now too. I really feel like an old man. Like, oh my goodness.
Love it.
But
Love
yeah. So that was a look at Macadamia, and for Matt, will only cost $3,000. in the stable dual lineup for a very honest horse who just has not done a whole lot wrong as of late, really ever, really.
Yeah.
Let's move to the 5th race. There are 3 stakes races on the Saturday card at Del Mar, and the 5th race is the Stormy Liberal. Shout out to the very good turf sprinter that this one is named after. This is a 5 furlong turf sprint, and I think the key is in Southern California, what gets tricky is when you go from Del Mar, it's a straight 5 furlong turf course, and then you go to Santa Anita, and some of the times they're coming down the hill, and that's 6.5. And those 2 layouts could not play more differently. Like a 5 furlong turf sprint versus 6.5 down the hill at Santa Anita, 2 different ball games. That 6.5 is more like a mile. That's how that plays. And the 5 furlong turf sprint is really good for those much shorter turf sprinters. So in this race, I think this will be a great spot for Turn on the Jets. Just returning to Turn on the Jets is going to be returning to that 5 furlong trip after going 6.5 the last 2 times, and just looking like 6.5 was a tad farther than where they could be at their best. Look at Turn on the Jets back on August the 18th, right here at Del Mar in the first start coming in from Ireland. That was an excellent performance. Sat just behind the leaders, waited, angled, moved. It was just a beautiful trip. And I'm hoping they get that same exact type of trip. I know that he has speed, but we know that he can pass horses too. He's got some versatility. And at this trip, I think he can use both of those weapons if he needs to be on the lead, or if a couple others go and he can track right behind them. I don't think that'll be any problem for him whatsoever. This is a fun, contentious race. It really is. Like, you can make cases for a few different ones in here. Hot Box, shout out, smoke him if you got him, right next door. Very quick. I used to, I got to give a shout out to my old teacher, Ed O'Connor. This reminds me of him because when we were in high school, he was like the student council advisor. And he basically like motivated me to run for student council. He would like come in my ear all the time and talk to me and said, come on, I'll let you have fun. I'll let you do whatever you want. But whenever I'd be at lunch and we'd be sitting at the table with all the guys, he'd walk up behind us and he'd always make a comment, but he would call a hot box a smokehouse. He would get it confused and we would laugh so hard. He would come up and he would say, we talking about doing one of those smokehouses later on tonight? And we would all just start laughing. We'd say, Mr. O'Connor, you're talking about a hot box. You're talking about a hot box. And he'd always laugh. And even at the reunion not long ago, we still joke about that and we get him. So shout out to EOC. Anytime we see a hot box, it always makes me think of him. This is a different hot box they're talking about in the horse racing world than the one that I'm talking about in my California mind. But Sumter also makes some sense in here. And what makes Sammy run? You could make a case for that one. It's just a fun race, but I'll lean towards Turn on the Jets. So Matt,
and hot box edibles.
No, I was gonna say those. If you try to do that with those gummies, they're just gonna be oozing all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Can't do that. Can't do that. Maddie, you've got race number 7, right? Oh, we're both in the 7th.
Yeah. So I got one in the Jimmy Durante Stakes, and I just have to say, Gino, you're always like to point out pop culture stuff. It's funny. So Jimmy Durante, obviously great icon of Hollywood in yesteryear. You know how I realized I got introduced to him through the Michael J. Fox movie Greedy, which is not a movie a lot of people have ever seen with him and Kirk Douglas.
Dude,
but
I love that
movie.
I love that movie.
And and the reason is, and it's funny because Kirk Douglas kind of plays this very curmudgeonly character. Michael J. Fox, as a little kid, used to do a Jimmy Durante impression. And so that's like a big like plot line in the movie. And I watched that when I was like 10 years old and I didn't know who Jimmy Durante was yet. So that was like my introduction to Jimmy Durante, was this like very young character portraying Michael J. Fox doing a Jimmy Durante impression. And then I went back and started watching old Jimmy Durante movies after that.
That's
really well, you want to know how I knew how I was introduced
probably this race.
No, it was Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I was like, who is this guy that they always make fun of? And then they used to do Big Crosby too.
Yes, they did do
Man.
Bing. Yeah.
Man, I gotta watch that movie later.
Yeah.
Nancy Travis, I had a big crush on her
Oh.
from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was great in both of those.
She's
And
very, very formidable figure in young Matthew's life.
yes,
So-
yes. And what's cool is like I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I have like such a love for Michael J. Fox. My dad built his house
Oh,
in
that's
Bel Air.
right. You had mentioned that before.
My dad
yeah,
was a
yeah,
general contractor, and in like the late 80s, early 90s, when Michael J. Fox might have been the biggest star in the world,
Yeah.
like during
Yeah.
Back to the Future, my
Yeah.
dad was building his house in Bel
That's
Air
wild.
and making like a couple $100,000 a year, 30 years ago. And I was like dressed in like Guess everything. Like I was like just the best dressed baby all over the place. Like things were going very well for the McCulloughs around that
I
time.
love it.
We built
I
a
love
brand new house. Dad and mom both had new cars. Everything was going great. But I love like all of the BC Michael J. Fox movies. I've seen them all. Like I love them all. So I love all. For Love or Money is fantastic. Secret to My Success, one of my all-time favorites. I love
yeah.
that movie. It's
Yeah.
so good. And you know what? I as a baby
Doc
was in
Hollywood.
Doc Hollywood.
Oh,
Man, I was in a movie with Kelly McGillis. Shout out to
yeah.
Kelly McGillis. It's a movie called Winter People
See?
with Kurt Russell and Kelly McGillis. I was one of the babies in that movie that they used as like
Love
an
it.
extra.
Full
Yeah,
circle to the Top Gun horse.
How
Right?
about
Yeah.
full circle to Top Gun, right back
Yeah.
to Kelly McGillis.
Yeah.
Look at-
There you
Top
go.
Gun
6
classic.
degrees of separation. We're all over the place here.
Fantastic.
Oh man, so well done. Well, the Jimmy Durante will be
Yeah.
one of our final looks.
Yeah.
Maddie, talk to us about who we're looking at. We
Yeah.
we would have spent hours just talking about Jimmy Durante and not even.
We really
You see
could.
how-
That's why these stakes are great.
The
But
tangents are so good. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the number 2 horse in this spot. So quickly park it 8-1 on the morning line. Coming down from Golden Gate last time out, where she just absolutely dusted the field, and what made that particularly impressive was she didn't run behind a particularly hot pace either. Like that was
No.
pretty average pace, to be honest with you. And it still went from like 5.5 lengths back to winning by 6, like with just ease. And so that was, coming off a little bit of a layoff. Now we're second back from the layoff. This horse has broke its maiden on the Del Mar turf as well. So I wouldn't get too twisted. I know sometimes you mentioned Jonathan Wong bringing horses down from Golden Gate. That's an angle I like to play too, but I wouldn't get too twisted about, is this a Golden Gate horse? No, this horse broke its maiden at Del Mar. This is a good horse and went up there, got a stakes win, came back down. I think this horse just has a good amount of versatility and obviously has that devastating turn of foot for a young horse. I just really like this horse in this spot. I think this horse makes a lot of sense. Should get a pretty ground saving trip. So 8-1, I'll gladly take quickly park it for $3,000 on Stable Duel.
That's what
This
my
is a-
mom used to say to me and my sister when we used to go to church.
Park it.
Quickly park it.
Uh-huh.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is a fun name. It is a pretty funny name for a horse, right?
Yeah.
Like you just kind of laugh when you say it out loud, like quickly park it. It's good. And there is a lot of ways you can go in this race. It is a very contentious
It
race.
is.
You got Motion, who ships the one in. Decorated My Life comes in from Ireland for Simon Callahan. I moved to the outside. I mean, you can make a case for the 9, very, very logical. You
Yep.
can make a case for the 10, who's the Chad Brown one that ships in. But I actually like the 11, Ligura. I actually like the 10, Sell the
Mhm.
Dream a little bit. It's pretty simple for Sell the Dream. They took a shot on the dirt last time out. The 2 races on the dirt just haven't been quite as good as the races on the turf. But with this filly and these connections, you can understand why, because they know they have a talented filly. And so they figured, hey, there's a Calbred stakes race. Let's see if we can get some money, right? Let's see if we can be competitive with that group. We
Yep.
feel like we have a nice horse who's classy enough, but she's just a little bit better on the turf. She wins her turf debut going gate to wire at 5. And then in her 2 races at a mile, in both of those races, she sits off the pace, she moves to the lead, and she just finishes second behind a horse who's a little bit better than her in Comanche Country. And I mean, there's no shame in that. Comanche Country
And
went on.
by the way, Gino, who's not in this race?
Comanche Country.
There you go. I mean,
Right? Boom. Like, there we go. And
Bingo!
da-dunch, like easy as pie there. So one more for me. Let's get to the finale. Since Barry's here, I got to give you guys
You know,
a
one
bailout.
thing of note
Please.
Jonathan Wong is moving his operations east to Kentucky.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
And-
lot of horses. I guess he's having issues trying to find barns and places to to put them all.
Places to
But
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely worth making note of because he's going to make his impact, especially at a place like Turfway.
Absolutely. That's
yeah.
a great point. Turfway with all the synthetic.
He
didn't
won
even
one last night.
Yeah,
Actually.
didn't even
Nice.
realize because last year we saw him sending some over, but that makes a lot of sense because that's the one thing that's unfortunate about the California landscape of racing is you're sort of out on an island in California, right? Like there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of other competitive circuits around that you can ship into when you're out there in Kentucky or when you're on the East Coast. Think about where all the different tracks that are local to you that you can take a swing if your horses are maybe not fitting at that level. So
Right,
that's
it's the purses because he was moving his horses over to Turf Paradise to get some class relief and win some races. But the money in Kentucky is hard to pass up. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
it's
And this dude is a
kind of
good
lot-
trainer.
Right, he can
He'll
very good
figure it
trainer.
out quickly, right? Like you get over there, all of a sudden it just takes you a little while to understand the levels and the stock and just kind of where all of your horses stack up there. And he's going to do a really, really nice job out there. Let's see if we can steal one in the finale. It's the bailout race for Bailout Barry. And let's get a bomb on the front
That's
end
what's up.
right here to close things out. Evan Harlan, 20-1 on the morning line. Shout out to Feld Family Racing. I love those fellas. And Graham Motion. And what's cool is Temple City, Bob Feld went to Temple City High School with my mom. They both went to high school together. So that's kind of cool that this one's a son of Temple City. Sean Feld went to St. Rita's. I went to St. Luke's. We were in the same grade. We played against each other. We were rivals in sports, like growing all the way up. We played flag football and stuff. So this horse comes all the way out here. And I don't think it's just for the frequent flyer mileage because you can see what they're doing. Who do they put on this horse, Matt?
They got Maldonado.
And what do you think that signals?
They're gonna go.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
for this horse, he had always showed ability. His first 4 races, they were good. He was just one of those horses who like couldn't put it all together, hung a little bit, a couple in kind of not beneficial trips. But then what's the best thing to do with a horse like that sometimes? Just put him right on the front end,
Mhm.
right? Like, don't get cute. Like, let's just put him on the front end. And that's what they did on October the 15th. It was the first start after a couple months. It was the first start now, like later on in that 3-year-old part of the year. That was by far his best race. And now they ship him all the way out here. And who else in this race has much speed?
Nobody.
I mean, Script is a little bit like, I mean, you start going through and the horses that you think maybe are showing speed were kind of like, okay, Spy Catcher's like going to probably be pressing, as is War at Sea. This horse is here with Maldonado to be on the lead, right? Like they cannot be in this race to try to get cute and sit back and pass horses. Like you're here to try to get 2 lengths on this field and steal it. And I think that's got to be the game plan for Evan Harlan. I wish Kevin Harlan, the NBA announcer, was calling this race because damn,
Oh man.
he
That would
is
be awesome.
He is so good. He has one call where you can find where there's a drunk guy on the field and he calls it, "There's a drunk guy on the field. He's in the 10, the 20, the 30." And he's calling the guy like as it's there. What an idiot. He's going to jail. And he's going through the whole thing. It's pretty funny. But Evan Harlan, let's see if we can get some thievery in the bailout on Saturday. Let's get this guy right on the front end, trying to take it gate to wire in the Hollywood Derby, which is going to go as race number 9 on Saturday. We have a big day at Stable Duel with a couple different Del Mar contests on Saturday. Fellas, I hope you guys had a nice holiday with your family. We have another one coming up in a few weeks, but I will say, I miss the hell out of you guys when we don't do this every week. It's like a great way to start my day. I get a nice little pick-me-up. I get some nice energy. I love talking with my buddies, and you guys always make me a little bit smarter. there's always a horse or two that I wasn't looking at that you put on my radar that I may throw into a pick 4 or pick 5. If you guys ever check my stable duel contest after these, I've always bogarted a couple of your guys' horses and I'm using them on mine too. I'm always like, I hope Barry doesn't see that I'm stealing 2 of his and using them over here. I got Matt's in the 6-2 and it's like, oh, what? My bad. I don't know how that happened, So anyways, I love you guys and I always appreciate hanging out with you every Friday morning. Matt, what do you have coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff. Just released a new Capping the Card episode. So one of the races tracks we didn't talk about that has a big contest this weekend. Obviously, the Cigar Mile up at Aqueduct. So if you check out my Twitter handle at Fail to Menace, you can see the video of I run through races 1 through 10, give my top pick, my top value play in all 10 races, including the Grade 1 Cigar Mile. So that was a lot of fun. And always have something new coming out all the time, but yeah, Capping the Card just dropped this morning actually. So hopefully a nice way to at least give a quick overview of those 10 races and in a very rainy Aqueduct, 100% chance of rain on Saturday. So dug into a lot of pedigree and form for that.
Sniper, what's going on your neck of the woods this week, my man?
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Taking my wife out for dinner tonight.
Birthday! Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Yeah.
Mrs. Spears.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're gonna go hang out up at St. Augustine tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So we're
Awesome.
gonna
Well,
be up there all day, and then put up Christmas tree on Sunday.
Nice.
beautiful. Nice little weekend. And you're like,
Yeah.
maybe Bed Bath and Beyond if you have time. Home
Yeah,
Depot.
nice little
Who
Saturday.
knows? I don't know. We may not
Yeah.
even have time. Who knows? I always love that line. It's like,
It's so good.
What is
It's
it?
your
What's
lips. It's your lips. It's so
That's
good.
another one that like you don't watch for a while, and then when you do, it's like, why haven't I watched this movie for a while? This one
Frank the
stands up.
Tank.
Yeah, baby. So we will be back here with you every Friday, 7:00 a.m. Pacific time, 10:00 a.m. on the East Coast. We'll always dive into a couple different tracks. We'll give you some best bets for Friday, and for Saturday, we'll set you up. We'll have some fun. You'll probably have to mute it once or twice because there'll be a song or two that I will try to sing. Try is the key word there. But one man who doesn't have to try to sing, he sings. That is Joey Cleveland. We're going to hear the soothing sounds of Joey Cleveland right now. Take it away, my friend.
Better. You want to spread your pony knowledge by